Welcome to my store's duel tournament. As I've invited friends of Yugi to join us in this grand event, I believe you'll find it to be a challenging and enjoyable experience. I'm proud to announce that the winner of this contest will walk away with a very special pack of cards. Hey everyone, it's CurlyHairedHero, and today we got a bit of a special episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Eternal Duelist Soul. We're going to be taking on this little tournament held at Yugi's grandfather's shop. So, basically, once a year, if you don't remember, the game runs on sort of a schedule, has a calendar, cycles through a made-up set of days and whatnot, and once a year, it'll have a tournament held by Solomon Moto, who is the grandfather of Yugi Moto. Now, I've decided to use a bit of an odd deck this time around. I basically just used a bunch of cards that I like, or rather, that was supposed to be the theme of this deck. But then I ended up going with a combination of that and a bunch of fusion cards. As you can see here, I have 12 fusions. It's pretty much 3 of, I guess, 4 different types of fusions. Even I should probably get rid of these 3 twin-headed Thunder Dragons, since I'm possibly only ever going to be able to make 1 of them, maybe 2 of them. But it's pretty infeasible for me to make, all 3, since I need 2 Thunder Dragons, and I only have 3 of them in my deck, naturally. Anyways. So, yeah, it's a pretty interesting deck idea. I decided to do it, because why the hell not? Instead of, going all out, making some super crazy deck. You guys already know that. I don't really like doing that. I mean, I have nothing against that. It's just, there's no point in me doing that and recording it. And there's also really no point in me doing that in this game. So, plus it'd be getting really boring. So, yeah. Got a Celtic Guardian here. He's gonna take down my Giant Tumbler of Stone. It's okay. I don't need that right now. Giant Tumbler of Stone I used to make Mystic Sand. I guess I can explain it a little bit. I can summon a fusion actually. So the reason I have Vermilion Sparrow and Mystic Sand is because, well, no, not. It's kind of hard to explain. I guess. Part of it is because there's a game called Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards, and they've turned most of these fusions into normal monsters, which is really cool, because most of them don't even see the light of day because of the fact that they're really obscure fusions, and they're not really too feasible in no, I don't want to activate it. They're not really too feasible, because they don't really have anything going for them. So, it's really nice to see that they got some play out of that. That being said, there was something else that I don't remember specifically why I picked Vermilion Sparrow. I believe it was because of that game, but basically the point I'm trying to get across is that I've said this before, but I used to make a lot of fake Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I used to play with them, with myself, and I had a friend who managed to support my crazy idea of fake Yu-Gi-Oh cards that I would draw and make myself. And a lot of those times I would actually make, actual Yu-Gi-Oh cards and write them down on paper. Sometimes it'd be the same, sometimes I'd have some crazy effect attached to it. Or not necessarily a crazy effect, but basically it might be a little different. But point I'm trying to get across is Vermilion Sparrow was one of those cards. I don't know why, because I just looked at it and I was kind of like, oh, that card looks kind of cool, and it just stuck with me. And I even had a small, now that I think about it, I guess the term is a headcanon. I'm not entirely sure, but basically I had I had my deck of cards, my deck of paper cards that I made myself, and I had a sort of, I guess, a persona that I would draw. I would basically have like a trainer or a duelist card, I guess is more appropriate. I would have a duelist card, which would be quote-unquote the duelist that represented said deck, and for said deck, I'd have like a certain persona for it, and I would, create different decks with different personas, with different duelist cards, stuff like that. And that's pretty much how I pass my time, honestly, with me and my friend. And I got a little bit into it too much once, because I didn't really have a lot of friends at the time, aside from the one I'm talking about. Well, aside from that, I didn't really have like a big group of friends. Drop my phone. And so basically, I sort of personified myself as this certain character at that certain time, and I kind of gave him like a group of friends, I think. Well, no, I didn't give him a group of friends. I made it so that some of the different personas that I had, in my game, or I guess it's a game, I don't know what you want to call it, were sort of his friends, kind of like Yugi had his group of friends. My Duelist persona card thing had his own group of friends. And since Yugi and pretty much everyone in the Yu-Gi-Oh series has their own, or not their own, they have a group of cards that they are kind of most known for. I decided to pick a couple of those for myself, and one of those was Vermijin Sparrow. Another one was Thunder Nyanya, and I don't remember which were the other ones. The only reason I remember those specifically was, I think actually the other ones were maybe not real Yu-Gi-Oh cards, but I remember those specifically because I drew like a little scene where I guess it was my character's birthday or whatever. I don't know. I'll do it anyways. It was like his birthday or something like that, and like all his friends surprised him, and they like dressed up as like some of his cards. Just me being, fucking in 8th grade, being a crazy lonely kid. And that's why like whenever I see Vermijin Sparrow, I kind of like have that sort of connection with him, because I'm just like, wow, remember those times back in the day where such and such happened. So that's one of the reasons why I have Vermijin Sparrow in this deck. The other reason is that conveniently, his one of his fusions is the Ra. I think maybe the R is silent. I don't know. Raimundos of the Red Sword, and I kind of use that card a lot when I first started using this series. So actually, you're a little bit stronger. You're 50 more points stronger, so I'll attack with you at the end. So I figured, well, okay. At first, I was trying to use a bunch of the cards that I liked, and a bunch of the cards that maybe throughout the series that I used a lot. So like Summon Skull, Wandering Doom, stuff like that. The Raimundos of the Red Sword, and then I kind of saw the connection that he had a fusion, and that's where everything kind of fell together. Started putting a weird sort of fusion deck. I'll even let you guys look through it real quickly. It's nothing really great. I actually need to get rid of this Fake Trap. Fake Trap is great, but now that I actually see it, it only protects your trap cards. So it's not horrible, but it's not exactly the greatest card ever. I might have used it wrong a couple of times in life. Firewind Pegasus, which I've talked a lot about, that I really like. I only need this for Vermijin Sparrow, This is for Mystic Sand, another card. That card specifically from Yu-Gi-Oh! The Sacred Cards, which is why I really like it. This is just to help me out. I just always liked Guardian of the Throne Room, and I used them a lot when I did a couple of playthroughs on my own growing up of this game. And I just added in this guy because he's a really strong monster, and I don't know, he's one of those, like Tri-Horn Dragon. They're both of these kinds of cards that like came out really early, but didn't really ever see any sort of like play. Primarily because everyone's always trying to use Blue Eyes and Dark Magician, or some nonsense like that. And I mean, these cards, I guess technically they're also weaker, but they're also solid cards. Like they're stronger than Dark Magician, so they're pretty decent cards. So I don't know. I figured I might as well use them, especially since whenever I think of this game, I kind of also sometimes think of those cards. Even though I never really used them, but they were kind of, you know, just iconic to this game, which I know probably doesn't make a lot of sense. I probably shouldn't put that in defense mode, but it's fine. So, yeah. Having a bit of an odd trek down memory road. But I guess it's appropriate that it will happen now, especially when I'm facing against our first opponent, Yugimoto. And I'm using this kind of deck because we're winding down the what I'm trying to say. There's not a lot left in this game, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Because after this tournament, we only have the 5th and final tier, which only has 4 opponents in it. So that means after this 4 more episodes, and we're pretty much done with this game. There's not really much else that we can do about it. Or not much else that we do about it, that we can do with it. Personally, I was gonna try and do something overall to sort of, like, I guess, close out the time that someone owns this game. I mean, basically, this is actually the first, you know, series I ever done on my channel, but whenever when I started, you know, doing this series, I kind of just did it for fun, because I just figured, you know, I used to have fun with this game, and I guess this isn't something bad, or not that something bad. It's not something that would be that bad to, you know, record and do a Let's Play over. So I figured, why the hell not? Who gives a shit? I'll just do it and we'll see what happens. And then, I mean, the whole point of my channel has kind of been up in the air. Relatively for now, it's just been something I do for fun. But I was going to focus on something specifically, and I was going to start with this game, you know, to do it with. But then after a while, I was kind of like, you know what? I don't really feel like doing that too much. Like, I kind of do, but I kind of don't. So it's kind of up in the air. But basically, the idea kind of solidified itself recently because I took a bit of a break from YouTube to catch up on schoolwork and stuff. Since I'm graduating pretty soon. Probably graduated possibly by the time I upload this. I'm not entirely sure. But yeah. So I decided to just take a small break, and while I had that small break, I really wanted to, you know, keep recording videos, so like random ideas would pop through my head. And basically, why would you summon that in attack mode? The AI for Yugi is just so bad in this game. I'm gonna go ahead and I'll even use this if you want to be a scrub. And I'm gonna take your monster's attack and increase my monster's attack with it. Anyways. Actually, I shouldn't have done that. Well, you know what? It doesn't matter. I'll just attack this for game. Because I thought I had to attack him, you know, keep attacking him. But anyways. In my off time, I guess, from YouTube, I had a bit of a small epiphany. And basically that since I like playing a lot of handheld games, I was gonna develop a series where I would kind of, well, in general, my aim of my channel was to sort of review games. Well, that wasn't necessarily the aim. I was gonna try to do that, as, you know, on top of the Let's Plays, I would, you know, to give it a purpose, so it wasn't just, you know, I was just Let's Playing games. I would be like, well, I can also review them, I guess. Since I already played them, it wouldn't be that bad. You know, and it'd kind of be like sort of my, I guess, like my gimmick or whatever. The fact that I can review the game, and when I talk about it, I can refer to, you know, me actually playing the game. So I have that as sort of like a way to like back up my argument, or, you know, something like that. And I was gonna try and make a specific one, which was for handheld games specifically, and you know, I was gonna use this game for that. Previously, when I was gonna do the whole review thing, I was gonna do that also with this game being the first game that I uploaded, so I figured it would be the first game that I would do that with. Not that I have any sort of special connection with this game. I mean, I do, but there are other games that mean a lot more to me than, you know, this game. This game is kind of just, you know, it's probably just mainly because it's Yu-Gi-Oh! And it's the first Yu-Gi-Oh! On the GBA. But the point I'm trying to get across is that at the present time, I'm not entirely sure what exactly I'm going to be doing. Because I still kind of want to do that idea. But at the same time, I don't know. like I wanted to review this game just because of the fact, you know, it fits into the theme, and it would be a nice way to, you know, the same way how like with this game I started doing YouTube. I would just try and get into like reviewing games with this game, you know, to kind of get my feet wet and stuff. But at the same time, there's not really much to review for this game, so I don't know if I actually want to go through with it, just for the sake of I guess, like, you know, just because it fits and it comes full circle and everything. But at the same time, it's kind of like, and I don't know. I have second thoughts about the whole thing, especially since this is gonna date the episode. But since I learned today about sort of what YouTube is going to be doing in the future, I'm assuming by now it's already happened. I'm assuming. I'm not entirely sure of the time, you know, when this is going up. But basically, how there's going to be a subscription service and how that's going to drastically, pretty much change everything. Not that I really care so much for like monetization wise, because I'm not really making any money off this at all, nor was I planning to. It's kind of just something I just always wanted to do, so I was like, fuck it, let me just do it. So that's not really the issue, but I do feel like it's going to have a huge impact on YouTube in general. So the future of my now starting channel is kind of, I don't know what's going to happen. So yeah, it's one of the reasons that I don't want to start a big project like that now and then have it, you know, not work out in the end. Like, granted, I hope I'm making some sort of sense. Like, I know I'm rambling a lot, but I hope that some sort of coherent sense is coming out of all this. But I know I have monetization on my videos. Like, you know, there's ads that play at the beginning of it. I don't think any of them play at the end. I think it's only at the beginning. But oh fuck, I don't want to sacrifice. You know, damn it. Whatever, it doesn't matter. I kind of just did that because I figured, why the hell not? I mean, I don't lose anything from monetizing my videos. I gain it, technically, but I don't really lose anything from monetizing my videos. As opposed to if I, you know, didn't monetize them, I would not really gain anything whatsoever. And I was also kind of under the idea that if you monetize your videos, YouTube would kind of they would kind of favor you more, so like people would see me more if I was, just because of the fact that I was monetized. That's kind of how I think the system works. I haven't really done any research on that, but it makes sense to me that YouTube would do something like that, and it also feels like that's the case, because I don't really see any like channels that aren't monetized really get anywhere. Like, granted, I'm not trying to, like, you know, get, you know, billion scrubs sorry, billion subs in like a day or anything like that. I don't really care about that. But I would also at the same time, you know, kind of have, like, I'm only doing this for fun, but it'd be nice if it kind of had sort of a purpose. Or not sort of a purpose, like sort of a, like if I got something out of it, or how do I explain this? Like, I'm spending a lot of time doing this, so it would kind of be nice if there was some sort of, I guess, if something came back my way. It doesn't have to specifically be money. Money would be great, don't get me wrong, but that's not at all what I, you know, necessarily want. I would be fine with just, you know, interaction with people, maybe networking, you know, something like that. That I'm just totally fine with. That's actually one of the main reasons I started, you know, doing my channel, because I wanted to do stuff like that. And YouTube seemed like a great platform to do that with. Yeah, that's where I stand on that. I know it's a crazy sort of tree if you follow how, like, the points of that conversation went through. It probably doesn't make any goddamn sense, but sorry about that. We're in our final duel of the, or possibly our final duel of the grandpas, I guess. It's called the Grandpa Cup, but we're in the final duel of it, possibly. If we can manage to take down Rex Raptor in this final duel, we can manage to beat him. I don't really have any good cards. And I don't really want to use Graceful Charity. I don't like using Graceful Charity early because I can do a lot of combos with a lot of cards that I draw. So I would prefer to save those for when I have like an open field or something like that, which is why I kind of like waiting for stuff like that. Or especially when like I'm in a bind, I can draw it out. Or not draw it out, sorry. I can draw some good cards. So like right now I just drew 3 cards, but I can't really do anything with it. So I would have preferred if like maybe next turn, after I destroy this monster, maybe, you know, I already had a monster in the field, I could destroy his monster with my Neo, and then I can, you know, use my 2 cards to draw a bunch of stuff, do a bunch of fusions, and, you know, do a lot of damage. But at the same time, I don't know. It obviously doesn't always work that way, so sometimes abiding to that strictly screws me over. But for example, just now he had a Regeki, so that's one of the reasons why I don't like going big, as you know, as soon as possible. I know that sounds like common sense, but sometimes it doesn't. Alright, we have a Giant Soldier Stone here. I'm hoping that I can fuse something aside from Thunder Dragon. Thunder Dragon was actually the last card I added to this deck, and that's the card I've used the most. Before that, I actually summoned a bunch of Skull Knights, and I used to have a Warrior Tradition, but I took that out because I don't really. I mean, I kind of like Beautiful Headdress, but I've already used her a bunch, and you know, it's like I don't know. I mainly added these. I forgot to talk about Skull Knight actually. I mainly added these 3, and I just kind of added this and Warrior Tradition just cause. So then I just swapped out Warrior Tradition for that because that's a little more useful. Warrior Tradition is basically Verbigen's Sparrow, so except her cards are the fusions for her are a little more useful. I guess I just play another one face down. I'm not really getting anything. I need at least a Versago or a Goddess with a Third Eye, so I can fuse something, or a fusion specific card like Ancient Elf, so I can summon Mystic Sand, or don't need that, or Ancient Wisdom or Ancient Brain. I think, yeah, Ancient Brain sounds right. And I just added this card because it's no one would ever bother fighting on a cloud. But it's just really funny because if you use Swords of Revealing Light on it, it'll destroy swords, and then on your next battle phase you can attack twice, or rather you get 2 battle phases. It's a pretty ridiculous card. Not that like it'll ever be in use or anything like that, but yeah. Unfortunately, he's gonna have to go to the grave. One of the other main problems with this deck is that I have a lot of cards in the deck itself, so it's really difficult to get the kind of, you know, the cards that you need, specifically when you need them. So that's one of the main problems I run into now. I mean, I haven't really had too much trouble per se. I mean, I had a couple of test duels with it beforehand. I didn't really take on anything too powerful. I only took on like Tristan, and Joey, and Weevil. I think I lost to Weevil, or I barely beat Weevil. So it's not like, I mean, I wasn't trying to make like some crazy awesome new meta tournament deck or anything like that. I was just trying to make something that works. That's usually the theme with whatever deck I make. It doesn't have to be the strongest deck in the world. It just has to work. Alright, I'm gonna have to play this face down. I can't use. I have 2 oh yeah, that's why I have 2 Wabakus. I didn't want to have 2 Wabakus. I just accidentally have 2 of them because I pressed it twice by accident. I had this face down. I don't want to lose my Tainted Wisdom, but I'm gonna have to at this point because I need to get rid of the hand I have. Oh, of course he does. He always does that. He always do that. Whenever I try to use Morphing Jar to get new cards, I always play a Polymerization face down, and they always have to go ahead and destroy it like a bunch of asses. It's fine. Of course I draw Ancient Brain next turn. Of fucking course I do. Alright. So we have Thunder Dragon at least. We're gonna have to. Well, we don't need to use this effect at least, but that's kind of pointless. We have Polymerization. We do have Monster Reborn at least, so that works out fine. And it segues perfectly because I can talk about why I have Skull Knight in my deck in the first place. I already talked about the other two, even though I didn't get to use them at all, which is really lame, but there's actually nothing I can do about that. The reason I have Skull Knight in my deck is because sometime a couple of years ago, pretty recently, like maybe 3 years ago, 2 years ago, something like that, like previous to that, me and my friends, we would play Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot together, but during the time that, you know, this whole thing happened, Skull Knight, we were sort of winding down, or we had already winded down, and it was only like, you know, every maybe twice a year I'd be able to play my friends, or anyone for that matter. So it was a pretty depressing time for me, because Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a big part of my life, and it always has been, always will be. So to know that, like, I'll never be able to like really play with my friends like that, because, you know, we were growing up, we don't have time for that shit. I get that. Like, I barely play myself. The only times I ever play is, you know, here now. I don't really I don't like keeping up. I don't really like how Yu-Gi-Oh! Is now in the first place. But aside from that, I can't find myself being, you know, that interested in playing constantly as I used to be. And the only reason, like, the only main reason I was ever really into playing it immensely was just because I had a good group of friends, or not. I'm not necessarily. I'm not trying to say they're bad friends, but I'm not specifically saying that they're a good group of people per se. What I mean by good is that I had a good number, not that they were like bad or anything like that. But anyways, play swords. Gonna be a bit of a long duel. Sorry about this. So yeah, one of the main reasons I played, I'm pretty sure I've said this much time, it's not so much because of the game itself. I do have a big connection with the series and whatnot, but it was primarily just because of the time that I spent with my friends. So at that time, like I said, a couple of years ago, he had 3 Magicians of Fate. What a tool! I kind of came to the realization that kind of like, you know, I'm not really gonna be able to play any longer. So I was kind of like, well, I guess it was nice while it lasted. And I was kind of reminiscing, looking at my cards and stuff, and Skull Knight was in my bunch of cards, and I was like, oh yeah, look at Skull Knight. And I was kind of like complaining how, you know, look at this card, you know, it's pretty cool, but it'll never see the light of day, because, you know, it's not some sort of crazy, super powerful card, and blah, blah, blah. You know, usual complaining about the meta like I always do. And, I don't know, I was just fixated for whatever reason. Whenever it came to Skull Knight, I just got really fixated on it. And I just, like, envisioned myself making, like, a Skull Knight deck that was, like, super crazy, like this super awesome anti-meta Skull Knight deck that would somehow really awesome and really powerful. And it was just really strong, and I would just somehow, you know, figure out a way to do it, win some tournaments with the Skull Knight, and, you know, I would like revive my my friends' love for the game, just because, you know, Skull Knight, you know, like, basically I just diverged into like this crazy like scenario. My mind just wandered into like this crazy land, and it was pretty ridiculous. But I actually did try to build the deck. Mostly, I tried to build like a fiend. I was trying to, basically it was gonna be like a fiend deck, and I'm gonna lose this duel. I'm just gonna let him beat me, so we can move on to the next duel real quickly. Yeah, I was trying to make it like a fiend deck, and you know, they tied in because there's a lot of support for fiends, but fiends aren't really necessarily good for whatever reason. So I was gonna like try and, you know, use a bunch of fiend cards and this and that, because his two what is it called? His two fusion, the 2 cards you need to fuse him are actually fiend monsters. So, you know, I try to do a bunch of stuff, and, you know, try to work around with a bunch of stuff. Basically, I was spending a lot of time trying to make this one deck idea work, which was it was a great feeling, because that was kind of the stuff I used to do a lot growing up, whenever I played the game, that's usually what I would spend my time doing. Like, try to make these like crazy sort of card situations work, and it was a nice little, I guess, hit of nostalgia doing that. And it was pretty funny because like once I was actually getting down to using the card, um, I noticed that Skull Knight's actually a spellcaster, which is really disappointing because it just throws off all the like stuff that I was doing out of whack entirely. Like my whole little headcanon, my cards that I was looking up, everything just went down the drain. Just cause this freaking card, I got squat. Just cause this freaking card decided to be a fucking a skeletal knight guy that was clearly a fiend with a sword turned out to be a spellcaster for whatever reason. I mean, it kind of makes sense because he's fused of like 2 brains, so he's smart and spellcaster like smart and like whatever nonsense. But it was just really disappointing because I was just like, oh well, that's fucking bullshit. There goes all the work I did and whatever. But it was nice that I spent all this time trying to make that deck idea work. So that's basically the gist of my Skull Knight story. It was just basically that it was a chance for me to relive one of my old memories, doing a bunch of the old stuff that I used to do a lot. And I figured, since in honor of that, I'd sneak him into this deck, even though haven't even been able to like use him effectively. I can use Polymerization to summon Mystic Sand, but Mystic Sand is too weak. Balls. I'm gonna lose this duel again, huh? I mean, I could play a monster in defense mode, I guess. All I can really do is hope that on my next turn I draw something that'll give me, I don't know, like I need like something that'll let me summon Skull Knight or something that'll let me summon Thunder Dragon are the only ways that I can win this duel right now. So, Destiny draw. I got Fake Trap. I should have known. I should have gotten rid of that card. Man, that really sucks. I should have at least summoned Mystic Sand, just for the sake of summoning her. But it's fine. It's whatever. Just gonna go ahead and take my loss. Alright, great. Just destroy my 1 card. Thanks. Just go. Even, kick a man while he's down. Why don't you? Alright. Well, that's gonna do it. Hope you guys enjoyed this rather long, rather deep, I guess insightful or whatever, episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! The Eternal Duelist Soul. We didn't manage to win the Grandpa Cup. I guess we did manage to come in 2nd place. We were gonna win a pack of rare cards, which is, I guess, basically just a bunch of forbidden cards with a couple of random other cards. It's nothing really too big, so it's whatever. But it is sort of a special event in the game, so I figured I would dedicate a specific episode for it. But anyways, enough of my rambling. I'll see you soon.